We're making sure that we're not obligated to the inmate, that we're not dependent on the inmate. But that's why we're put in this position. We have to be better than them. Because if we don't respect ourselves, we can't expect the public to. How you guys doing today? It's Anthony Gangi, host of Tier Talk. Welcome to another episode of Tier Talk. I had a great question sent my way. It was sent through my emails. Now, the email was rather dated, unfortunately. I must have missed it, and I was looking for another email today, and I happened to see this. So for the person who watches this, I'm going to send you a link. I don't want to say your name, but I'm going to send you a link to this video so you know I didn't forget about you, and I apologize. Somehow the email got overlooked. Happens, unfortunately, but I saw it today, and I'm getting on it immediately. And it's about the correctional officer interview process. Now, I did a video on this before, very general, just an overall idea of what to expect from the correctional interview process and what they're looking for. This question is very specific, and I would love to get your responses on this because it's a question about a question that may be asked on the interview process. Now, this person's been on 2 correctional interview processes, and the same question has been asked twice. And this person is curious as what's the best way to answer this specific question. So when we come back from our sponsors, I'm going to say what the question is. I will love your feedback as to how you would answer this question, and I will give my thoughts on to why I think this question is asked and what's the best way to answer it. So when I come back from our sponsors, we'll get to that. Now, guys, if you haven't, this show is Tier Talk, so please subscribe, interact, engage, comment, hit that bell. That bell is going to notify you every time I post up a video. I stand by for our sponsors.
I wanted to attend a university that had an intelligence program. I wanted to look at problems different. I wanted to increase my critical thinking abilities. AMU offered those avenues to expand. Obtaining your degree as an adult, you're actually paying yourself and investing in yourself. You can't put a dollar on it, it's priceless. It's something that can never be taken away from you.
American Military University. Learn from the leader.
Being a corrections officer takes its toll on even the strongest individuals. The constant need to perform at the highest level, putting your life at risk in a hostile environment, and the mental scarring of traumatic experiences. 31% of corrections officers show symptoms of PTSD, and 66% of people with PTSD also suffer with a substance abuse problem. The Transformations First Responders program is specially designed to help veterans and officers heal from the grips of addiction and PTSD in a comfortable, supportive, and serene setting. You are not alone. If you have questions about the services we offer, give us a call at 866-762-8454 to get more information on this affordable and life-changing program.
Thank you guys for listening to our sponsors. So I think this is a great question because I think it can actually develop into a series of topics where we may be lucky to find a specific question that we feel is asked on the correctional interview process and go ahead and explore that question as to why it's asked and maybe how it should be answered. And I think it's very educational. And I actually spoke to my boy Gary York. Gary York also has a correctional YouTube channel. It's called Corruption Behind Bars. Check it out. I really do think it's a channel that you guys will find very interesting. And I think together we're going to try to explore the many questions that could be asked on a correctional interview. And again, I did an episode on corrections interviews once before, but this may be more specific to a certain question. I feel if we can do a series of these and interact and have some good dialogue, I think it would be great for those who are coming in the field, just to give them something educational about why these questions are asked and what would be the best response. In this case here, the question that this person's referring about, and mind you, this person's young. So this person is right out of college. I don't think they've been on a lot of job interviews. And I think that the question they're asking, even though you will find it on a lot of correctional officer interview processes, it's not simply just for correctional officers. It's not simply just for correctional staff. It's a question that could be asked for any job. Because I have jobs, I've had many jobs before I got into corrections. I've answered this question multiple times, but now in my position, I've actually interviewed people and asked this question to individuals who could be a future hire. And the question is, what are your strengths and weaknesses? So right off the bat, the reason why I believe that question's asked is, one thing is to tell us about yourself. That's one thing. But also to be honest. That's the key. I think this question is a great way to test someone's honesty and their integrity. Because we all know people are not perfect. We all have flaws. So when this question's asked, I think it's also kind of asked in a manner where take a good look at yourself. Step back. What is it that you see? What's the positive? What's the negative? And if there is a negative, because there should be a negative, we all have flaws. How do we build from that? What are you looking to do to make that part of yourself better? The one thing an interviewer does not want to hear, or there's actually two things. The first thing is, we don't want to hear that you don't have flaws. So I don't think that's going to impress us, especially me when I interview somebody. I ask you what your strength and weakness is, and you come back and say, well, these are my strengths, and, just topple these strengths one on top of the other, and then all of a sudden, well, what's your weaknesses? Oh, I don't have any. We don't want to hear that. It comes off as being very cocky, very arrogant. Deep down inside, everybody has flaws. Nobody's perfect. And we're looking for you to be honest. And another thing we don't want to hear is where you make your strength into a flaw. And what I mean by that is, what's your weakness? Well, my only weakness is I'm dedicated to my work. How are we supposed to take that? So your dedication to your work is what makes you weak? So it's basically someone that's trying to hide a strength into a weakness. And again, that's not something I would prefer as someone doing an interview, conducting an interview. How I answer that question in the past is I'm honest. I give my strengths, which are literally my strengths. That's what I feel are good about myself. Now for me, I'm very dedicated. I'm very passionate. I believe in what I do. I give everything 100%. And I'm sure most people are going to say that. So again, it's very generic, and but that's how I feel about myself. It's what I am. It's who I am. And as for my weakness, maybe my weakness is where it's a bit unique. Maybe that's why that question is also brought up, because everybody may say strengths that are very similar in nature, like I can adjust to any problem, I can be a leader, I can take control, I do everything 100%, I'm willing to learn. We've heard all these things before. So when you're coming out and saying these things, we've seen it before. The weakness is where it could be unique, believe it or not. The weakness to me may be more personal, because it involves you looking deeper into yourself and then really trying to figure out what is it about yourself that you feel could be a bit better. And I'm very interested in hearing that side of the interview. And I would love your thoughts on this. What's the best way to answer this type of question? But why do you feel this question is asked? For me, I feel that sometimes I can get overwhelmed with work, that I may lose my sense of priority as to which one needs to get done first. A bit of organization, if you will. And anybody that knows me will tell you that's 100% truthful. Which means, yeah, there is a strength to that, maybe, because I take on jobs and I'm willing to work. But there is the weakness aspect of sometimes it can get overwhelming. And then I lose track of what needs to be done first. But again, I'm stepping up, taking the work that's coming in my way. But then it's a matter of me figuring out which one's a priority. But again, I have no problem delegating that work and getting the work done if needed. But again, it's just the fact that I'm taking on a lot and it could become overwhelming. And then you can kind of see that I'm overwhelmed because I can't hide it well. I don't have a good poker face. But again, it's a flaw. And there's no hidden strength there. It's a flaw. So again, there's a balance to that question. But just to reiterate, the reason why I feel it's asked is, again, I think the strengths, we've heard those strengths before, especially someone that's familiar with doing interviews. The strengths sometimes aren't as unique where we can just really get an understanding of who this individual is in front of us. I think for me, it's the weakness that's unique. When the person chooses that weakness, it involves them really looking at themselves and pulling something out. And that's where I find that uniqueness. So I thought that was a great question. Hopefully I've helped someone answer it. You know, I'm going to forward them the link once this video is done. But again, we're not looking, as an interviewer, I'm not looking for you to tell me that you're perfect, like I don't have a weakness, or trying to disguise your strength inside that weakness. Like, oh, I'm over dedicated to my work. Okay, what does that mean? How is that a weakness? Explain how that is a weakness. Because then me as an interviewer, I'm going to have to do a subsequent question. Okay, tell me how that makes you, like, how is that a weakness for you? Let me know. I'm curious. Because to me, it sounds like a strength. As always, guys, the show is Tier Talk. If you haven't, please subscribe, interact, engage, comment, hit that bell. The bell's going to notify you every time I post up a video. And as always, guys, stay safe.